All right, now that I've given this machine an identity and I've given it permission, and you can see the permission when we go to role assignment, the next thing I'm going to go inside this machine to request some access. And the reason why this is important is because we want to kind of take this to the next level. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, since this VM has been granted access, as you can see, there is the MSI 2012. I'm going to go enter into this MSI now, and I'm going to go ahead here, and I'll make a small configuration over here just so I can increase my font, make it a little bigger, my layout here, maybe I'll say 150. That's totally up to you. You don't have to do that. Just want to make this thing a little bit more bigger for your viewing. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and invoke a web request to get access token from the Azure Resource Manager. Okay. Again, the thing I'm trying to do over here is to invoke a web request to get access token for Azure Resource Manager, and the web request I'm going to invoke, I'm going to send it to the MSI. So again, first command that you're going to see me type over here, and I'll paste it right on the screen. You can see over here, this is my invoking web request. This is my URI. As you can see, this URI is a non-routable IP address that is generally being sent to my what they call IMSI, that is to say Azure Instance Metadata Service. Okay, Azure Instance Metadata Service, that's IMS. And on the IMS here, you have various endpoints. One of them is identity, as you can see on here. And sometimes you can have a storage, sometimes you can have a network. I'm sending a web request over here to this endpoint, which is identity plugin. And I'm sending these to MSI and say, well, I'd like you to get me access token for my Azure Resource Manager. What's the resource I'm looking for here? Look at it over here. Here's my resource, and I'm saying this is for HTTP, a lot of variables over here, and I'm saying Azure, .com. This is the, URL for Azure Resource Manager. I'm sending a web request to IMS, that's the Instance Metadata Service, and the endpoint here is identity. I'm saying I need access token for this resource, which is Azure Resource Manager. And I'm passing that variable, I'm passing that result into this variable here, a temporary placeholder, and you can look at the content of this on your own. If you want to take a look at it, you can see that is the result of this web request that I invoked here, and I just pass it over here just to hold it up here, temporarily. The next thing I'm going to do over here is to convert it, but if I convert, I'm going to extract the content here, because that's where the access token is. So if you can see what I'm doing over here, I created another variable temporary placeholder called $content, and I'm only extracting the content here, this content here, over here. That's why I say .content, and I'm converting it to JSON format. That's JavaScript object notation. So I'm going to come over here, and you can echo the content out over here, $content. And you can see over here that I've gotten rid of all the status code, the status description. Now I have my access token in here. And then the next thing that I'm going to do over here is I'm going to just extract the Azure Resource Manager token and get rid of all the other stuff over here. So again, I'm parsing out the content as well. And you can see the command that I'm typing over here. Here's my command here, and essentially I'm just extracting this. And I'm going to type CLS over here, and I'm going to type echo, and I'm going to say $, because I wanted to see what is inside the these are token compared to what we have before. You can see now. So I've just extracted just my token out of this place. Now, having extracted my token, the next thing I'm going to do is to use the access token now to call Azure Resource Manager. Remember, I called MSI to get access token for Azure Resource Manager. I've got token for the Azure Resource Manager now. Now I'm going to use that token now, to call Azure Resource Manager. It's very important to make sure everybody's following. So now I'm going to use this command, and I wanted to take a look at it before I enter the actual value into it. So I'm making a web request invocation now, and I'm calling Azure Resource Manager. I'm going to enter my subscription ID here, and I'm going to enter my resource groups here where the resource is located. I'm going to enter my storage account over here on this side, and I'm going to call Azure Resource Manager and say, can you please get me access token to access this resource? Now, if I don't have access to this resource, well, I will be denied, essentially. And that was why we have to go to access control, identity access management for this particular storage earlier to grant a particular permission to this, VM earlier on. So I'm going to have to go over here and enter my variable and make sure that, the whole thing is obviously clear so everybody can understand where we are. So I'm going to go ahead and modify this command so that you can all see what we're talking about. So subscription ID, where do I see that? I go back to my home page over here, and I'm going to go to my storage account, and here's my storage account here. Overview, you can see here is my subscription. All right, so I copy that into this place, and my resource group over here, I'm going to change that as well. And here's my resource group, as you can see, Metro State, right? And the next thing I'm going to do over here is to go ahead and store my storage account. And my storage account, as you can see, is here, storage account, which is Cloud 55577. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and remove these. And then edit this command and go ahead and enter the command with my variable. Here is my subscription ID here. Here is my resource group Metro State. And of course, my storage account. You have it over here. And what I'm parsing over here, I wanted to make sure you remember, is this access token. This token over here. I'm just using this -h. Sometimes you may see -h instead of -headers. It's the same thing. And I'm saying @authorization equals bearer of this, Azure Resource, Manager token. And I'm going to parse the output into what I call keys, response here. So press enter. Okay, so with CD, I'm going to send another, web invoke command request over here, and with this I'm going to use the access token that I got from Azure Resource Manager earlier on from MSI. I'm going to send that, use that to make a request for the Alright, so using the resource token that I have, the access token that I received, I'm now going to call the Azure Resource Manager, and I want to make sure that everybody, have a clear understanding of what we're doing over here. I'm calling Azure Resource Manager here. Here's my subscription keys here, and here's my resource groups over here, and I'm calling Azure Resource Manager using the access token that I already have to give me the access key to this storage. I want to make sure you follow it properly. The first step we took was I invoke a web request to MSI to give me access token to the Azure Resource Manager. I got that access token. Now I'm using that access token now to call Azure Resource Manager to give me the access key for the storage account. That's really what this process will do for me. Press enter here, and you can actually look at the content of your key response here if you want to see what is in it. I always encourage folks to take a look at it. It's beneficial to see what you have in the content over here. You can see that. Now, from this point forward, I'm going to try and convert that content to JSON. So I'm going to extract the content and I'm going to convert that content to JSON. I'm going to type my command here so you can see. All right. So again, I'm extracting the content here, this content over here, and then I'm going to convert it to JSON. I'm going to store it inside a temporary placeholder key consent. Press enter here. You can always take a look at that also if you want to. That key content. Do I type this correctly? Mistake here. This content. See, that's my key over there. All right. Then the next thing I'm going to do over here, because there are several values inside this, is the first value here, is the second value here. So if you kind of continue to look at this, you're going to see just one value here. Okay, and that's just one, and permission over here is, and then if you go on here, keep on looking at it, you're going to see that there are multiple values, but I only need just one, the first one. That's really the one that I'm mostly interested in. So I'm going to actually do something here, and the goal of doing this is to ensure that I'm getting the value, the first key. All right, so that is the most important thing, right? There are first key over here, there are key twos over here, and then it goes on and on and on and on. This is going to give me the first one, first value, and I'm going to call it key over here. And you can essentially need to type echo and view the content of this key. And you've seen over here, that's what I've just extracted over here. I've just extracted just this one over here. That is what this command has done for me. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to need to then supply this key to the appropriate container to either upload the file or download the file, whatever it is that I want to do. However, some command will not work here if you do not appropriately modify your file or your data the way it needs to be. For example, if I type, and I will give you an example of what we're going to be doing later here, you would see that if you do not perform certain steps, you're probably going to have some issues with it. So there is it. See, this new Azure storage over here require me to have a particular module, otherwise it's not going to work. This is my storage account, and if you my storage account that we used earlier on is Cloud 55577. I'm going to go ahead and modify this. Cloud 55577. That's my storage account. And if you're wondering what your storage, account should look like, I can probably bring mine up for you to see. Essentially, it is the section of your Azure homepage that will give you some sort of a guidance in terms of what you need to see. I'm going to bring this up here, as I want to say it. Go to my storage account, and see I have various storage accounts over here, and this is the one, Cloud 55577, and that's what I'm specifying in this environment over here, Cloud 55577. So if I go ahead and press enter here, you see now, so it will give you this error message, and that's something that I want you to realize. And the reason it's doing that is because, you know, it doesn't understand this command. You need to kind of import Azure module for Azure Storage specifically to be able to do that. If you were to have Server 2016, this would just work straight up because it's got a PowerShell 5.1 on it. You can verify the version of your PowerShell. Simply, you can type get host and pipe that to select object. You can go to version. You can see I've got a version 4 of the PowerShell over here. So in order for me to upgrade this PowerShell to version 4.5, I'm gonna need to download, and I'll show you how to do this. Actually, I'll go online and actually download a more recent version of PowerShell. Now, because I want to browse the web, I'm going to have to disable these. You don't have to, but it will make browsing very painful. So I like to kind of just do that ahead of time. So I go to Google here. And I'm just going to say PowerShell 5.1, and I'm actually going to Server 2012 5.2, and go to this website. I'm walking you guys through this because I wanted to see how you would go about this. If you don't want to do this, you could simply just download or run it on Server 2016 or 19. And here I have this one here. I'm going to click download, and I'll select all. Once. I'm just going to save everything. My folder. Go ahead and accept. So it's going to have to restart, complete this process. So now I can restart now. So we've restarted the system now, so I'm going to go back here and open it. And the first thing you want to do is to verify the version of our PowerShell. And you can see now we have PowerShell version 1 after the install. So before we run the command again, remember when we ran the command earlier on, it kind of bumped out and we couldn't do what we needed to do. We essentially had to restart the system. So we're going to quickly run through this process again, and this is going to serve as a kind of a refresher for anybody that hasn't been following what we've been doing all along. The first thing I'm going to try to do is to do web invoke request to MSI so I can get access token to Resource Manager. Okay, that appears to go on just fine. And in the previous video I showed you guys how to, all you have to do is just type echo here and $response, and you can view the content of your response. But we're parsing the output into a variable placeholder, So I'm going to convert that into JSON, and I'm going to extract content out of it. I'm going to go ahead and extract that into the token aspect from these content, and there you are. And I'm going to have, now that I have the access token from the Azure Resource Manager, I am now going to use the access token. I'm going to call Azure Resource Manager and say, can I get the access key to storage? Okay, and I've supplied my access token. You can see harm over here that we defined from this last command that we typed earlier. See, that's a parse it over here, this I'm token. So I'm going to press enter here, and that seems to just go just fine. And then, having done that, now I'm going to extract the content of that one out. Remember, I have content over here, and I've shown you guys how to do that in the previous video, so I'm not going to repeat that at this point. The key here is that I want to extract the content out. Let me see if I can actually quickly show you here. Echo $, keys. See, that's the content, that's what is in there. And I need to get this content out, and I need to extract the key as well. So that's the reason why you see this. So I'm going to extract the content out of that. And having done that, then the next thing that I'm going to do over here, having extracted my content out of here, is I'm going to look for the value. If you look inside this place, you're going to realize it's got a value, and I want to go ahead and extract, you know, that value out. We're going to use that value a little bit, later. If you have any question with this, you can go back to a previous video. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to go over here and enter these, and I get my key out of this. So now that I have the key, and you can actually check the content of this dollar key. Now I have the storage key, storage account key for this particular storage that we specify up here, and you can see we specify cloud, the cloud account, and the storage for this cloud account. I essentially have the cloud storage, key to access it. The next I'm going to be doing over here is I'm going to just simply upload a file just to show that we have access to it. I'm going to copy and paste out the command on the screen here, and we're going to edit this together. So I wanted to get an insight into it. And here I'm just simply going to come over here and enter my cloud 55577. That's my key. Now if I press enter here now, that's my storage account rather. If I press enter here now, you see it doesn't recognize this. But that's not a problem now, because now I can then go ahead and install the Azure storage module. Before I couldn't do that with the previous older version of PowerShell. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to install this module, import this module essentially, and I'm just going to say yes here. So it's going to install this module, and then afterwards I will be able to do whatever I need to do. I'm going to just type all here. And just like that, we're done. So if I come back here and type this account again, you know what? Here's what I'm trying to do now. Press enter. Now it works. Okay. And what I've just done is to create a kind of a place to hold my parameter information over here. New Azure storage context, and I'm saying storage account. I set this argument. That is my storage account here, and I entered my key over here. You authenticate me. That's fine. That means I'm able now to do anything I want to do to this particular storage account. And now for a test, I'm going to upload a simple file. So now having logged into this storage account, I can then try to upload a file up there into the folder, and I'll post my command here on the screen so you can see. Make sure I'm copying this correctly, and I have this command typed over here, and I think the name of my file actually I think is piece, and I have this file right on this directory. Let me actually show you first before we go ahead and do anything that might create any confusion. If you look on my directory over here, I have this file piece.txt. That's the file I'm going to upload just for the sake of the test. So I'm going to go ahead here now, and I'm going to call this file piece.txt, and the container name, I have to specify my container, and if I come over here, I have blobs here, and I have two containers here. One is collect, one is education, so I can use whichever one I want to do here. I'm going to use collect, for example, here. So I'm going to call these case sensitive, and pretty much at this point I have to select the kind of any kind of a file that I want here. Call it piece. Call it piece, or call it peaceful.txt, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm passing this variable here that consists of my key. If you remember earlier on here, we created a key over here, parameter that will store it in there. Provide my parameter. Press enter. And you can see what's going on up here now. Show you the percentage. And once this is done, our file will be uploaded. You probably wonder why it's hovering and saying Cloud File 577. That's because of my typo here. Remember, my storage name is 55577, not 777. So I'm going to have to fix this one over here. I'll come back up here, and I will change this one from 777 to just 27. Press enter, and I'll go back and do this again, practically. There you go, successful. So I've essentially quickly now uploaded these two files over here just using access, my storage account token. And if I come over here under college now, you should be able to see the file that we just uploaded. We call it peaceful, right? So this is demonstrate how to use a storage account to access your storage account key to access your online storage, online drive, and you can do this programmatically without having to store your code. The whole idea of this is I've been able from my VM, from this VM, to send a file to an external storage without actually storing any credential inside this particular file. Remember, the thing we did was, the first thing what we did was this guy requested for, at the top over here, requested for access token, to Azure Resource Manager from MSI. This is the directory address for the MSI. MSI, through MSI, the request for access key to this is sought. We invoke a web request. After obtaining the access token, then the access token here that we extracted out here, we actually use it to send a request to the Azure Resource Manager to get access key, not credential, access key, to this storage account. Once we get the access key to the storage account, we use the access key now to upload the file. All done without use of a password. Now, The downside of this is you really do not want to do this in a production environment, because by granting someone access key, your storage account key, they have access to everything, you know, all the storage. What you want to do is to limit what they can access and for how long they can access it, right? You don't want to give somebody the full access to your storage account, because every storage under it, they can actually access it. You want to use something they call a shared access signature instead, and we're going to consider that in the next video.